that enriches both and leaves a mark beyond the moment. Ultimately, the lesson that many older men learn in these relationships does not have so much to do with age and humanity. They discover that true satisfaction is not in what can be conquered, but in what can be shared, and it is in this realization where sexuality becomes more than a physical act. It becomes a language, a dance, a connection that challenges the barriers of time and leaves a mark in the soul. As the relationship develops, sexuality also evolves. What begins as an attraction driven by youth, beauty, and vitality, can be transformed into something much more complex and deep. The age difference, far from being an insurmountable gap, becomes an opportunity to enrich the relationship with different perspectives, different rhythms, and vital experiences that, although separated by the years, are intertwined in a unique way. That in this context, older men begin to understand that desire is not only physical, it is also loaded with emotions, thoughts, and mental connections that arise as both share moments outside the bedroom, such as dinners, walks, or simple conversations. The real challenge, however, is to keep that initial spark alive when emotions begin to weave beyond the superficial, when sex is no longer only a physical exchange, but an expression of what it feels, what is shared, and what you want. The relationship becomes more complex. This is where men who have cultivated an open and curious mentality, who are willing to continue learning and adapting, discover a completely new facet of sexuality, one that transcends the act in itself. It is not just about please, but to share, to be vulnerable, to accept that desire can be as varied as people themselves. A man who is not willing to leave his comfort zone, who is still looking for satisfaction only in the known, can hardly achieve real satisfaction. The young woman, with her fresh vision and her willingness to experiment, can help an older man to explore new forms of desire, new ways to find pleasure and satisfaction that perhaps had not considered before. Provocation, which at first may seem a superficial game, is actually an invitation to a deeper exploration. It is about discovering what really excites each one, which makes the other feel desired, which opens the doors to intimacy beyond the physical. As experiences are shared, limits are negotiated, and the forms of pleasure that work for both are discovered, the relationship becomes much more than a simple encounter between two bodies. Age no matter. What counts is the desire to continue learning, to continue discovering, to continue growing together. In the end, those older men looking for relationships with younger women with an open and mature mentality are the ones who are more likely to find a genuine and satisfactory connection. They do not seek that their partner admires them only because of their experience or status, but seek to share authentic moments, where both can express themselves freely, without unreal judgments or expectations. This is the lesson that many learn sooner or later, that age does not define the desire or value of a relationship. What matters is the ability to connect, share, and grow, not only in the physical, but in the emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. Sexuality, then, becomes a shared trip, a path that does not have a fixed goal, but is built as the steps are traveled together. And it is in this walk where the true pleasure is located, that it does not depend on age, but on the will of both of being present for each other, to learn, give and receive, and discover together what it means, the desire in all its forms. On this shared trip, sexuality becomes a constant exploration, where each encounter is an opportunity to deepen more in emotional and physical connection. Experience is no longer measured in terms of what has been lived, but in what is willing to live and share. The older men who understand this do not simply seek the novelty of a relationship with a younger woman, but the challenge of reinventing her own desire and her vision of pleasure. It is a reinvention that allows them to leave behind routine and previous expectations, and open to new forms of intimacy that perhaps never imagined possible. This type of relationship also invites you to reflect on the concept of power within sexuality. In many cases, it is assumed that the older man has control, either by his experience or by his position in society. However, what many discover is that true power in a sexual relationship lies in the ability to give in and receive, to give space to the other to be vulnerable and share their wishes, without falling into rigid roles. The young woman, on the other hand, often has the opportunity to question this power, pushing the limits of what has traditionally been understood as the expected sexual behavior of a couple of their age, and offering a fresh vision, without prejudice, that you can enrich the encounter. It is in this exchange of energies and perspectives that sexuality becomes something much more than a simple physical act. It becomes a silent conversation between two bodies and two souls, a dialogue of looks, touches and whispers that say more than words can express. Men who learn to accept this dynamic, who do not feel threatened by the youth or freshness of their partner, but see it as a source of inspiration and revitalization, are those who experience full and satisfactory sexuality. Throughout this process, many men also discover that sexuality is not just about seeking immediate gratification, but about building a long-term relationship based on confidence and mutual respect. The emotional and psychological connection becomes the pillar on which a healthy and balanced sex life is built. This is a crucial aspect that is often overlooked in relationships of this type. The importance of nourishing the relationship beyond sex, developing open and honest communication, and working together to understand the desires and expectations of the other. For some men, this lesson is late. They realize, after several failed attempts or frustrations, that sexual satisfaction is not guaranteed only by the age difference or the resources that one can contribute. True satisfaction comes from genuine reciprocity, from the mutual desire to please and be pleased, explore and enjoy together. In this sense, age ceases to be a barrier and becomes an opportunity to enrich the relationship with life experiences, different perspectives, and a more open and exploratory sexuality. The man who is willing to learn from his partner, which is allowed to be vulnerable and open, and who does not conform to what he already knows, is the one who has the most chance of finding a rewarding sexual relationship. He realizes that youth is not only reflected in the body, but also in the open mentality, in the willingness to experiment, in the energy that is put in the present moment, and in the end, it is this mutual provision to enjoy the here and now what makes any difference, either age or experience, diluted, leaving only the genuine connection between two people who have learned to share beyond the barriers of conventional sexuality. Thus, the lesson that many older men learn by being with younger women is that sexuality is not a battlefield or a game of power, but a space where vulnerability, communication, and mutual respect create an environment where desire can grow and prosper. Sex becomes a dance, where both, regardless of age, learn the rhythm of the other, discover new forms of satisfaction, and enjoy a richer and more deep intimacy that defies the pre-established norms and expectations. Give the video a like if you liked it and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more videos about this content. Leave a comment so we can know your opinion, and we will take it into account for future videos.